Across human history, the vision of a pyramid seemed to rise as if from some universal memory. For the Egyptians, it was the eternal resting place of kings, stone rising from desert sands to touch the heavens. For the Maya, it was a sacred mountain, a platform where humans met gods through ritual and sacrifice. Yet despite the differences, both civilizations looked upward, shaping stone into forms that defied time and inspired awe. The Egyptians built first. Around 2700 BC, the step pyramid of Djoser began the tradition, stacking mastabas into a form that hinted at the future. Then came Snefru, who experimented with the bent pyramid and the red pyramid, refining techniques until the age of perfection at Giza. Khufu's Great Pyramid stood as the largest structure on Earth. A feat of alignment, logistics, and manpower. Millions of limestone blocks, each cut with precision, rose in harmony with celestial patterns. This was not mere architecture, it was ideology in stone, proclaiming divine kingship and immortality. The Maya, centuries later and an ocean away, reached for the sky in a different way. Their pyramids, built between 250 and 900 CE, were not tombs sealed for eternity. They were stages of life, where rulers performed rituals, where priests spoke to the gods, and where blood sacrifice ensured cosmic balance. At Tikal, massive temples pierced the jungle canopy. At Palenque, stairways led upward to shrines filled with carvings that told stories of lineage and creation. At Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Kukulkan captured sunlight on equinox days, casting a serpent's shadow that slithered down the steps, a reminder that their architecture was as much astronomy as it was devotion. Egypt's pyramids emphasized permanence, built to last forever. Maya pyramids emphasized cycles. Many were built atop older ones, layer upon layer, reflecting a belief in renewal and continuity. Both civilizations used their pyramids as cosmic symbols, but their meanings diverged. One spoke of eternity, the other of balance and renewal. And yet, the similarities spark endless speculation. How did two civilizations, with no contact across oceans, imagine structures so alike? Was it pure coincidence, born from the universal symbolism of mountains and triangles? Or was there some deeper, forgotten connection, a shared whisper across time that inspired both Egyptians and Maya to lift stone toward the heavens? Maya pyramids were stepped, towering structures designed not for eternal stillness but for ritual cycles. They were living monuments, meant to be climbed, to echo with chants, drums, and cries of sacrifice. In contrast to Egypt's polished limestone facades, Maya pyramids often displayed intricate carvings, masks of gods, and glyphs telling stories of dynasties, wars, and cosmic order. Where Egyptian pyramids pointed to permanence, Maya pyramids were layered with renewal, often rebuilt on top of older ones, representing both history and rebirth. At Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Kukulkan revealed the Maya's mastery of astronomy. During equinoxes, the play of light and shadow created the illusion of a serpent descending the steps, symbolizing the feathered serpent god returning to Earth. At Tikal, temples rose above the jungle canopy like stone mountains, their steep staircases leading rulers to perform rituals where the heavens met the earth. Palenque, with its elaborate hieroglyphic inscriptions, revealed a culture where pyramids were both stages for ceremony and archives of cosmic memory. Egyptians and Maya shared striking similarities despite vast distances. Both cultures aligned their pyramids with celestial events. Both saw their rulers as intermediaries between gods and humans. Both imagined stone rising toward the sky as a bridge between realms. Yet the divergences are equally powerful. Egyptians enclosed eternity in sealed tombs, while Maya pyramids remained open, interactive, and repeatedly transformed. Egypt emphasized permanence, the unchanging cycle of kingship. The Maya emphasized cycles of destruction and renewal. Carving history into the very layers of stone, the question arises, how did two civilizations, with no known contact, develop such similar monumental visions? Scholars often argue that pyramids are a natural expression of human imagination, mountains built by human hands, a universal symbol of ascent, permanence, and power. But others wonder if deeper connections existed. Some point to myths of global floods, shared stories of cosmic order, or even speculative theories about ancient contact. While mainstream archaeology stresses independent development, the similarities continue to fuel debate and imagination. The logistics of pyramid construction also reveal the differences in social organization. Egypt mobilized massive labor forces, tens of thousands of workers, organized under centralized authority, building structures of unmatched precision. The Maya, though highly organized, worked within different scales. Their pyramids were massive but often rebuilt over centuries, with successive rulers adding layers. This layering process turned the pyramids into palimpsests of time, with each generation leaving its mark. And yet, in both Egypt and Mesoamerica, pyramids became the heart of cultural identity. They were not simply architecture but embodiments of belief systems. The Great Pyramid of Giza still looms as a statement of pharaonic power and cosmic order. Chichen Itza still whispers of gods descending in shadows. Both remind us that human beings, separated by oceans and time, shared an impulse to touch the heavens with stone, to embody eternity in shape and structure. It is in these comparisons that the story becomes more than architectural. It becomes human. What drives societies to pour resources, generations of labor, and endless devotion into structures that defy time? For both the Egyptians and the Maya, pyramids were not just monuments. They were identities carved in stone, eternal answers to the question of how humanity seeks to connect earth to sky. The Maya pyramids of Palenque carried inscriptions that linked rulers to gods, weaving their stories into the cosmic cycle. And like Egypt's pyramids, which closed the dead within, Maya temples often included chambers above ground, filled with carvings, murals, and traces of ritual fire. The architecture carried voices, as if every stone was a line in a cosmic dialogue. Some pyramids even held tombs, like the Temple of the Inscriptions where King Pakal was laid to rest. But even here the tomb was wrapped within layers of symbolic meaning, tying death not only to the individual but to the eternal cycle of the universe. When comparing the two traditions, it becomes clear that pyramids were never only about stone. They were instruments of power, symbols of continuity, and bridges between earth and sky. Egypt's pyramids were colossal in scale, designed to endure and change for eternity. The Maya pyramids were dynamic, reshaped again and again, each new construction built upon the old, like generations stacked in memory. Both types of pyramids spoke of authority, faith, and the will to inscribe permanence into a fragile human existence. Astronomy guided both civilizations. The Egyptians aligned their pyramids with cardinal points and with stars like Sirius and Orion's belt. The Maya aligned theirs with solstices, equinoxes, and planetary cycles. At Uxmal, the Pyramid of the Magician carries strange proportions that echo astronomical patterns. At Chichen Itza, shadows transform into the serpent Kukulkan during equinox sunsets. These alignments suggest a deep obsession with time and order, the belief that to control the cosmos, or at least to mirror it, was to stabilize human life on Earth. In this way, pyramids were calendars in stone, reminders that kings ruled not only by bloodline but by cosmic synchronization. The deeper mystery lies in why these two civilizations, separated by oceans and millennia, both chose the pyramid as their vessel of meaning. Some argue it is natural. The pyramid is the most stable structure, easy to build larger and higher. Others argue the form carries something more primal, a universal symbol of mountains, eternity, and ascent. Some even whisper about lost knowledge, about ancient connections, or shared myths carried across forgotten migrations. Whether coincidence or deeper link, the echoes are undeniable. Cultural expression also differed. Egyptian pyramids were polished, geometric perfection, shimmering with white limestone under the desert sun. They stood in open expanses, rising cleanly from the sand. Maya pyramids were rugged, covered in plaster and paint, decorated with grotesque masks of gods and kings, hidden in jungles and surrounded by sprawling plazas. The Egyptian pyramid invited awe through its sheer scale and precision, while the Maya pyramid overwhelmed with imagery, sound, and ritual performance. One was silent and eternal. The other was alive and cyclical. Both civilizations eventually saw their pyramid traditions decline. In Egypt, the Great Pyramids of Giza were never equaled again. Later kings chose smaller tombs in the Valley of the Kings, hidden away rather than towering above. In the Maya world, the Great Pyramid building cities collapsed around the 9th century. Abandoned, their temples were swallowed by jungle. Yet both traditions left behind legacies so strong that even in ruin they command reverence. Tourists today still stand in awe before Giza's sharp geometry or Chichen Itza's shadow serpent. The pyramids continue to speak, Even after empires fell, the race to build the pyramids was never truly between the Maya and the Egyptians, but between humanity and time. Who could carve eternity most effectively into stone? The Egyptians sought eternity through immutability, locking kings in vast tombs untouched by life. The Maya sought eternity through cycles, through ritual, through constant renewal of stone and memory. Both visions endure, reminding us that while civilizations vanish, their monuments remain as witnesses. And when we gaze upon them today, across oceans and centuries, we see not only what they built, but the questions they carried about life, death, and the eternal human dream of touching the heavens. Asterisk when we try to measure who won the so-called race to build the pyramids, it is tempting to think in terms of size, height, or mathematical precision. But the deeper truth is that both the Maya and the Egyptians raced against something far more powerful than each other: the silence of time. They built monuments not to compete but to resist forgetting, to stand against the slow erosion of memory, the winds that bury names, and the centuries that swallow human voices. Each stone, each carved glyph, each polished limestone block was a message cast into eternity, begging to be remembered. The Egyptians created pyramids that were mountains in the desert, artificial horizons of permanence. To approach the Great Pyramid of Khufu was to confront scale itself, to feel small in the presence of a power that stretched beyond the human. They used mathematics with a precision that still leaves architects today baffled. The alignment with the stars, the flawless geometry, and the scale of labor reveal an obsession with order, symmetry, and immortality. In their vision, death was not an end but a passage, and the pyramid was the vessel that carried the king across that eternal divide. The Maya, by contrast, created pyramids that breathed with time. Their steps were not smooth but layered, as though time itself had been stacked in stone. The act of building was never finished. Each new king reshaped what had come before, laying his rule atop the bones of the past. Their pyramids were not only tombs but theaters, places where rituals, sacrifices, and celestial alignments played out before crowds. Their stairways were stages, their facades like cosmic texts, filled with gods and serpents and ancestral spirits. To stand before a Maya pyramid was not simply to look at stone, but to enter into a living myth. And yet, both civilizations encoded the stars in their pyramids. Egyptians looked upward to Orion, to Sirius, to the eternal cycles of the night sky. The Maya tracked the movements of Venus, the solstices, and the equinoxes, embedding these celestial events into the very angles of their temples. Both peoples believed the heavens and earth were mirrors, that a king's legitimacy could only be affirmed if he was in harmony with the cosmos. The pyramid was not only an earthly mountain but a cosmic key, aligning rulers with divine order. We must also look at the human cost. To build Giza, tens of thousands of workers labored, quarrying stone, hauling blocks, organizing in ways that required unprecedented levels of social control. The pyramids were not only monuments to kings but to the collective will of a society bound together in service to eternity. In the jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya mobilized thousands, reshaping landscapes, constructing plazas, carving stelae, raising temples in the heavy heat of the rainforest. Both empires demanded sacrifice, not only in sweat and blood but in the submission of generations to projects that outlived them. To build a pyramid was to surrender to a vision larger than the individual. Some argue that the similarity of form the pyramid across oceans proves an ancient connection, a lost civilization whose memory lingers in myths. Others argue it is simply logic. The pyramid is the most stable structure for reaching upward. But perhaps the truth is deeper still. Perhaps humanity, across cultures, felt the same impulse to anchor heaven to earth, to carve permanence into impermanence, to make the mortal reach for the divine. The pyramid became the universal language of that longing. As we reflect on the Maya and the Egyptians, we also confront our own time. We live in an age where skyscrapers rise, satellites orbit, and data flows faster than ever. Yet our monuments are fragile, digital, easily erased. The pyramids, however, endure. They remind us that civilizations, no matter how powerful, rise and fall. The Egyptians lost their dynasties. The Mayas saw their cities collapse. But the stones remain, whispering stories to those who listen. They remind us that legacy is not measured in years of rule or wealth accumulated, but in the endurance of what we leave behind. Who won the race? Perhaps neither, or perhaps both. The Egyptians won through scale, through sheer mastery of stone and geometry. The Maya won through complexity, through a weaving of myth, ritual, and time into living monuments. One pursued eternity through permanence, the other through renewal. Both carried forward humanity's need to defy death, to remind the future that we were here. And when we stand before them today, whether in the desert of Giza or the jungles of Yucatan, we see not only pyramids but mirrors. They reflect back our own questions, our own longing to be remembered. They show us that civilizations may fall, names may fade, but the dream of reaching for the heavens is eternal. The pyramids are humanity's eternal gesture, carved in stone, rising above the silence of time.